Hi, Linda. Hi, everyone. We're back to talk about the political world, which at the moment is in a lot of turmoil, right? A lot of
Right.
turmoil
And
since the new year.
I did a little video, not very long earlier, but I just want to emphasize again there was a 37-year-old woman shot. She was trying to leave. It's all on video, by the way. And she was trying to leave. I think she was trying to block the police cars or the ICE. And they came up to her and they were pounding her window, and she turned to leave. And she was not anywhere near running over an ICE agent. And the guy pulled out the gun and shot her and killed her. Well, the next thing you know, Kristi Noem comes out to do a press conference with a 25-gallon cowboy hat on. She looked so weird. And her makeup and everything. And she said she tried to run over an officer, so he had every right to shoot. It's like, wait a second. We just saw, don't believe what you see. Just like they tried to blame George Floyd, you know. It's just like, don't believe what you just saw. And then, what's his name? Orange Ruffus made a statement that not only did she try to run over the officer, thank God he's still alive. He's in the hospital as we speak. And he's not. And all the witnesses there was never an ambulance came because she was DOA.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is like the continuation of what this guy always does. He just creates a message, often 80, 90% false, and he constantly banks on the fact that his people and his media outlets, they'll hide the bad stuff and show you only the parts that they want them to see. And he'll keep getting backing from a large group of people, because we're not living in the 70s, 80s anymore, where there was one news station and then there was one agreed message. Now, lots of people see MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, whatever, like what's actually happening. And people on Fox, they're not seeing that. You know, they make sure that they hide the message. So that's going to continue happening. But even so, a percentage will keep bleeding away, because especially independents, they're totally leaving. You know, now they're like in the 20s, 20%. That's really bad, which is why you then get polling whenever they take a poll, like something like 70%, or it's in the 60s or 70 that think the Venezuela idea is a bad idea. This means that lots of Republicans think it's a bad idea. And that's really all you can do in the current scenario, because it's not like everybody is against the guy. He's got enough that it keeps him going, but his message keeps showing up more and more false, because he's saying, well, I'm going to run Venezuela from the White House. Well, how are you going to do that? I mean, anybody with a brain would tell you that's way too hard to do. You know, you've left a country without any leadership. They already had gang activity that broke out. I mean, are you going to send soldiers in there to try to quell the fires? No, it's unworkable.
And put our people at risk. And by the way, you had just mentioned, I heard it was 40, but you heard it's 100 people, Venezuelan people, who were killed in this transaction.
No, I actually heard neither. It was more in the 80s, 80 something. Okay. Like when you ask the question, how many fatalities? 80 something Venezuelans, probably most of them soldiers. But again, they were doing some killing there. It wasn't just like they went in and lifted the guy out. They killed a lot of people. And I would be bringing that up and saying, what kind of, this is like The Sopranos, man. They're sending in, the Soprano team. He's like a mobster. Let's just go in there and we'll just grab it and it's ours. Because why? Because like Stephen Miller says, we have the power, so we can do it. That's his logic.
Yeah. And when he was talking to the press, I was shocked he wasn't fondling himself, because he kept going on. We can do what we want. We're going to hit Cuba. We're going to hit Greenland. I just couldn't believe what was coming out of his mouth. This little tiny squeak guy that never even served a day in the post office, more or less the military. You got old Trump, who's a draft dodger. And by the way, Trump wants a bunch of ships named after him because he's so wonderful.
No, I mean, of course, and
The
then
good news, you guys, is this will end. Okay, that's the good news. This will end, and it'll be hard to reverse some of it, but I will tell you, this will end.
yeah, this is the hard part of all this is that even if you think, let's for example, all the markers are pointing to a much better situation for the blue team, for the Democrats in the elections, which would make tremendous problems for him. But that's still almost a year away. That's the first problem. So there's a lot that has to go on in between, right? Then there are people that will say, no, 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 he'll figure out a way to cheat or cancel the elections, which
Yeah,
I'm not
he'll
seeing.
try to think of a way.
The way I see, because if I filter it through his, you can always tell how is someone going to be feeling at a certain point. If you spot a direct Saturn hit, even when you're a saint, you don't feel good. You just will, I mean, my energy's low. Now, you point to a political situation. It's a no. It's a negation of the pattern, right? So, but that's still a while away. He can, he's like a bull in a china shop. This guy's way of doing things. Jeb Bush, by the way, coined them perfect. Remember back in 2016, he said, oh, this guy's the chaos president. It is.
Yeah.
It's like start things, throw things, because that way, when he was, had some really bad news at the end of last year. The Epstein thing was constantly churning. Then you throw a bomb somewhere and then the media goes over there. Everybody starts talking about that. That's his technique. He always does this. But that's tactical. Like it's a move. Okay, I'll do this to switch. Where's the strategy? Because then you say, well, I just did this. Who's going to run Venezuela? We will. How does that work? No explanation. Then Marco Rubio says something different 10 minutes later, like, oh, no, we don't want to invade Greenland. We want to buy it. Well, he never said anything about buying it. So they're all saying different things. And the consequence is going to be in the context of the astrology, because the other thing about the astrology is right now, toward mid-month, the same Mars that was really bothering him at the end of last year is getting closer and closer to his planets in a place that he doesn't like, because I've seen it many, many times. And never forgetting also that underneath all this, all the stuff that's happening to him, I still keep saying that his biggest threat is to his health, because the planets that are agitating and doing all this political matter, political problems, that creating these political problems for him, Saturn, for example, Saturn is a health planet in his chart. That planet, like, it's just any day it'll hit him from the health angle and he'll find himself in the hospital or, some event that can take him down. So that would be the worst. And then from there, he's trying to deal now with multiple fronts, multiple problems. And when the planets are rough, you get bad messages, including what you said earlier, that if this thing happens and ice kills someone, that's another problem, because you can't come out well with that kind of thing. Things will come out and people will say, look, she got shot, she didn't do anything. This means that drip, 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 drip. Some Republicans are going, I can't do this anymore. I heard about a person like that, a person who's right-leaning, and he said, I lean to the right, but this isn't right, what they're doing here with ICE. So there'll be people everywhere. And so in other words, then you get less people voting for you and more people voting for the other side because they're really angry. And the result is terrible, right? Because it also makes it a lot harder to cheat. To cheat effectively, you need it to be close. It's really important.
Yeah, that's what I was just telling you before you turned our record on. I said, because people get worried, oh, he's going to do this. And listen, he's not going to be able to bring in the people that just aren't going to vote for him. Yeah. You got to have enough people that would vote for you. There's not going to be any landslide with him. Those people are gone, and he knows it.
No, and the thing is, the amazing thing about this guy, the part that is most stunning, which is why I've called him a dumbass multiple times. No, seriously, because if you think about someone who's got good political strategic instincts where he knows how to switch the conversation and all that, okay, that's cool. He's got that down pat. But he never thinks clearly about what really benefits him in the political arena, right? So say that there is some advantage to tariffs. You do a really good job of targeting certain countries. That's true, but not in the short term. In the short term, they hurt you. So it's probably not something you should mess around with too much. jumps in full tilt. Now he's talking about oil in Venezuela. That's not going to happen in the near term. It's not possible. It's under the ground. Who's going to dig for it? Who's going to refine it? You're not going to get any money from that.
And the bigwigs and the oil companies, they don't want to have anything to do
No,
with it.
and if he says, well, we're getting a lot of money, you might be, not the people of the U.S. Like, just because you had oil money, where's the money? Where am I seeing the money, right? The people that vote, they're not seeing the effects of this. So in other words, he's telling you about, oh, the country's getting richer because we have all these oil fields. No one sees that. So, and then they put it together with, well, you're going in there to kidnap people and you're killing people. And, none of this seems good because it just seems like it's changing the tone too much. And yeah, I know Stephen Miller because he's a total,
Oh my God, he was like a little
thug.
He wanted to be a lieutenant, a general. We have the power. We can do what we want. And it doesn't matter that you're risking the life and liberty of our nation's military.
Well, Stephen Miller is a California-born person.
Yeah.
By the way, very unfortunately for your state, because this really tarnishes everything about California. Just kidding.
Yeah,
okay,
I was born in Georgia. Go ahead.
There you go. Yeah. So there's a published birth time. So this guy, he has 14 plus degrees Capricorn rising. That is where Saturn heads toward, but it's a bit later in the year. You have to wait for Saturn to get in. He starts to really get in trouble in June, July, August. Like, that's the zone where Saturn is really thick. And people like this, they get in trouble because they have a very poor sense of boundaries, which is what Saturn rules. Saturn is the planet that says, do this much and no more. Go this far. It's kind of like the logic of, as we gain wisdom, we don't eat too much, because if you eat too much, you don't feel good. So then you measure yourself. You're more careful. That's Saturn, right? This guy's political way of doing things, he tells you, oh, we have the power.
Yeah,
we can do whatever we want.
The king can do anything he wants.
No, it's not that simple. It was never, by the way, even in, like, when you look at history, even in barbaric times, like when the Mongols were, dominating the earth, they were very strategic. They didn't just go into some place with a bunch of horses and men. They had a very clear plan, and they knew their opponent, and you had to be careful because things could go wrong, and then you lose battles, right? And this guy seems to think, I think they're looking at a map, and they're going, oh yeah, look at this map. We can control it all. That's a lot of land. Can you imagine if you try to, now, Cuba, Colombia, Brazil, Peru, there's a lot of land there, to try to bring order into that. I mean, look at Putin. Putin has spent 4 years, a ton of money, 1 million lives lost, and he's got a little sliver of that country, right? And how did it work out for us when we went into Iraq? Do you remember that? Iraq, they went in, shock and awe. Then the civilians started to rebel, and eventually that's what ended, that made Bush's presidency eventually. It destroyed it. It was the one thing that...
Well, they were lying about weapons of mass destruction and stuff.
Yeah, of course. But even the notion that they were saying they welcome us with open arms, they love us. No, they don't. They don't. I mean,
and let me tell you,
Venezuelans,
Venezuela too, let me tell you, these people don't have, there's still poverty, big poverty in Venezuela. Are you kidding? They wouldn't mind taking you out. No. They are very angry at the United States for thinking they can, even if they're kissing his butt in person, like in public, to act like they're going to work with him. There's things going on behind scenes. I see some terrorist action happening in the United States, not necessarily from Venezuela, but I see groups of people really trying to take down Trump.
Terrorist action directly?
Terrorist action, yeah.
Wow, I wonder who they would be.
I see some action. Now listen, did you see and they're not posting it on the regular news, did you see all the people in Iran marching? People are dying, but they're fighting, and they're just done with the poverty they're living in. So Iran is packed full, and Israel. They said Netanyahu has a plan now to head out to Greece if he gets as worse than it is. And apparently they are done in Israel. They want to know what happened on October 7th. They want to know what exactly Netanyahu planned.
Well, see, that's another one that you and I have talked about multiple times going back. I can remember we talked about this even before the American election. But when you're pointing to what we're going in now, see, because then it was, oh, that's so far away. What's happening now is the more we get into 2026, the more difficult it becomes for Netanyahu and for Putin, because they've got energy with Saturn opposing. And when you've been breaking through boundaries, that's when the planet catches up to you, or it catches up to you through your worn out age, can do it as well. So bottom line, Netanyahu there's supposed to be an election sometime this year. That's really badly placed for him, so.
Well, listen, did you hear that the judge that's working on his, that's part of his, they want to take him before the court for you know what it is. It's
the fraud. Yeah, he committed forms of fraud, I believe.
Anyway, the judge was riding his motorcycle down the road on his own, and some car came out of a little place and killed him. Just rammed right into him. That was Netanyahu.
Wow.
So the judge is dead. Yeah, the judge just died.
Wow. Holy moly.
And that's how Putin rolls.
Wow. Well, there you go. But I guess the moral of the story, though, is that it doesn't, this is not this is the kind of year where that can come back. They can come back in a big way.
That's what I've been feeling for years now. And I remember telling folks, don't worry, because it'll start changing. All of a sudden, what goes around comes around. And I feel Putin is in for it, Netanyahu's in for it, and all the people that are following. And Trump. Now, where's Saturn placed right now with Trump?
Not in a good place.
Is it as bad as Putin and Netanyahu?
It's Saturn is as bad by mid-year in a different way. Like Putin's actually is even worse. Putin is probably finished. It'll finish him off. I think it'll probably mean he has to leave. And
well, this whole Venezuela thing. The vice president of Venezuela was in Russia when they hit. Putin told his people to get out of Venezuela a week before this happened. Putin was in on this game. That's obvious. Yeah. And he probably had a little thing going with Trump. Hey, we'll share the oil with you or something. But then now they have a ship with a Russian flag, a Venezuelan oil ship, that America's trying to take over. And they say Putin is furious. Why would America try to take something from Putin? So that's why it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know the entire, obviously what's going on in the background, but it is said by some that part of the reason Putin would agree is that if the U.S. can go into a place like this, you just walk in, this means China can walk into Taiwan, and then it means that Putin can also go into different places. But when people tell me, Putin now is free to attack what? He can't conquer Ukraine. So what else is he going to attack with what? He's got no soldiers, he's got no money. Don't forget that the American economy is more than 25 trillion per year. The entire European Union is another 25 trillion. They're about equal when you put all the countries together. That's $50 trillion of economy. Russia is like less than two. Their resources are very, very low. So if he is not able to conquer Ukraine, how is he going to conquer all those other places he wants to conquer?
And he at one point said to America, I will give you Venezuela for Ukraine.
Yeah, but how do you? Okay, but how do you?
Listen, but he can't even get Ukraine right now. And
he would have to say to the U.S., "You got to help me with Ukraine." That's not going to happen. So, at least I don't think so. Maybe that would be the next step in the psychopath Trump that he would take, but I doubt it. So the point is, Europe is helping Ukraine some, and even if you said to Putin, "Okay, take it," how's he going to take it? How? He's not able to. He's tried. He would have taken it already if he could. Yeah. Right? Yeah, because he wants it all.
Trump's over there screaming at Zelensky. You just need to give him what he wants.
Yeah, but Zelensky
and by the way, Germany just announced that they're going to give, again, more money and soldiers if they need them.
Yeah, no, and I mean, this is where even Trump he's delusional. Zelensky he's the same. He's a leader of a government, but he knows very well that if he gives territory to Russia, his people aren't going to like that. His own army might kill him. Imagine
they're losing their lives to save that land.
Yeah, because and if you're in the army and you've been fighting and dying for the country, and then your leader says, "Well, we're going to give him a piece of land," probably your life is going to be in danger. Then I mean, people in the end they
Right.
want to live. That's the thing when all is said and done, right? So
Right.
none of this is too surprising. But the point is, Trump is, as Jeb Bush had said, he was dead on when he said, "This guy's the
Chaos.
chaos president." He just starts things, doesn't finish anything. It's all like, look over here, look over here, look over here. Yeah, but it all comes back. At some point, like the tariffs, right? The tariffs now, you were saying
Looks like
yourself that
Friday, the Supreme Court is going to, they're saying Friday, the Supreme Court is going to turn that on him.
he's going to turn that on him. Okay, which is, first of all, another problem to solve, which he has to then potentially give money back. At least that's according to the rules. He's got to pay money back, which means all this work in the background to do that. But even outside of that, he's such a knucklehead. According to the experts, he has ways of still forcing countries to pay some kind of tariff without doing it through the tariff rule.
Proper
But
channels.
it's not a
Probably
good
pocketed in his own pocket.
right, but it's not a good plan because when you're doing this, you're making sure that people pay more for things, which means they'll see the economy is not doing well, which means you can tell them, yeah, we have oil fields in Venezuela. So what does that do for me? That might be something for you and for your
That'll
billionaire
take
friends.
years to make it
Yeah.
appropriate. And also, you'll drop the gas prices, which people won't like because then they really don't make money.
Oh, you mean you're talking about the oil companies?
Yeah.
If they flooded the market with a lot of oil, but I don't think that.
Nah.
I don't think the gas price is going to go down at all. That to me seems a little
But when
preposterous.
the new president comes in, they'll probably come up with more hybrid type stuff. He cut out. He doesn't even like electrical cars, and he's friends with Musk. But can I ask you something? What do they mean if the Trump goes into Greenland? That ruins NATO. How does that ruin NATO?
Well, because if Trump, if the U.S. forcibly takes over Greenland, you're attacking a NATO ally. That's Denmark. Denmark has been a country that has sent soldiers to fight on our behalf in the past. You can't just throw that out and say, oh, they're just a little team. No, they're an important member, France, Denmark, all the European countries, right? So then that effectively kills NATO because NATO is meant to be US plus all the European countries, the North American treaty, whatever, alliance is what it's supposed to mean. So this means you've declared war on one of your allies.
Which Trump, Putin would appreciate.
Of course, yeah, this is all to Putin's, and I would be really, for example, if Putin had a lot of planets in Aries, that would be a problem. Because now, or sorry, not in Aries. If Putin, like the situation that he was in 2016, Putin's opportunity to grab Ukraine was in 2016, right after Trump entered office, because he had Jupiter on his side. That's not the case anymore, right? So then it's a problem. It means that things aren't going to work as easily because those are big moves, and even when you do them really well, they don't always work the way you expect. It's
Well, I
complicated.
threw the cards on Greenland, and it did not look good. If anything, Greenland looks like it's shoring up, and people are more in love with Greenland. So I don't know what they're going to do. I saw a dark force talking to Trump in the ear. I know this sounds weird, but threatening him with something. So I don't know if there's another attempt on him coming up, or like something will scare him from going into Greenland. That's what I got.
Yeah, well, the situation is not good for him in mid-month, and what comes next is get near the end of the month. So the swath between third week of January and the first week of February, that's even worse because that's a big Uranus station in a very unfavorable place for him. That's where top level, most dangerous level would be some kind of health event. Something breaks. A level down from that, some kind of unexpected, shocking thing that.
And when is this exactly again?
between January 21st and February 10th. That's what they're.
Mark my calendar. Shoot.
Yeah, that's
With
tricky.
little hearts and stars.
Well, it's definitely it makes his situation more unstable, more complicated, more dangerous, more chaotic, if that's even possible, because this guy is, like I said, the king of chaos. But that's quite risky, you know. And to those who, you know, as people will say, well, yeah, you guys have been saying this about his health for a long time. That's true, but have you not seen his health decline? I mean, it's pretty obvious that, you know, because there are people out there. Bernie Sanders is a good example. Bernie Sanders is older than Trump. He looks much more together than Trump, and he doesn't give you the feeling that he might die any day. Now, he could, but Trump is signaling through the bruising and through the mental, you know, this guy, he seems to think that reporting to us that he's doing cognitive tests regularly is a good thing. That means they're testing you because they think you're losing your mind, you idiot.
I'll tell you who looks really good. The other day I saw President Biden at his birthday party for 83, and he looked fantastic.
Yeah, no. So the point is that we have seen a steady decline in his health, and people know this intuitively too, that it's not always going to hold up. These are like the odds of something, right? But when a person's health is steadily doing something, they are more vulnerable to the next step, which could be, you know, something bigger, you know, that then disables them or, you know, creates those kinds of patterns. But that said, we talked about this too, how in his cabinet, there's all these people in his cabinet have this commonality that the Saturn is moving in on them in 2026, gaining more and more power as we go toward the middle of the year. That doesn't go away, whether or not Trump has an event. It's still there, still happening. So that wouldn't bode well for them. By the way, it includes two other people that are now a bit off to the side, but it's interesting that I'm going to be looking at this very carefully because I constantly try to figure out, okay, well, how bad a whacking is this person going to get? So Musk has been riding his Jupiter. Jupiter's been in his sign. In fact, it went into his sign when he left, which was probably what made things easier for him, because when he was so visible, people were really attacking him for good reason, right? So now what's going to happen is Saturn is going to come into the picture, and that's a totally different thing in 2026, like, again, as we move toward the middle of the year. And the other person is Tucker Carlson. He's got a lot of Saturn coming up, and he's been skating through with all kinds of followers and saying all kinds of insane things. And, you know, you sometimes think, how is this possible that this guy has so many followers with the crazy things he says? Well, we'll see what that Saturn brings, you know, to see if it helps to stop them, right? But yeah,
right.
They're a bit off to the side, though. They're not as involved in the you know, people like you know, Stephen Miller, Kristi Noem, the Pam Bondi.
Pam Bondi.
Is another one. Kash Patel. They've got, whenever you see people like this and you see Saturn heading toward them, you know they're going to have to deal with problems. And we know this, by the way. I mentioned this in a prior talk you and I had. Pam Bondi, she has a planet that caught the Saturn in the summer, and that's why she got in so much trouble, because she was telling people in the spring, I have the files on my desk and we're going to release them. Then she was the one that Trump said, no, you got to tell the world that you're going to release nothing. So then everybody was mad at her, including the MAGA people. So she went through a pretty rough summer and she hung on. But this time she may not hang on. And the same with Hexeth too. Hexeth has a lot of Saturn pressure.
Good. I can't stand that, man.
Exactly. And like, bottom line, in the astrology, you need, and if you're trying to stop something bad, Saturn, that's the one you need. You need it to be in there.
Let me ask you this. Hexeth and Trump and all this warmongering, could that be related with the Saturn at all? Could they be jointly going downhill because all this fraud stuff?
Well, okay, that's another very interesting pattern where it shows you how Trump is like a moth to a flame. He has this pretty good ability to do smarmy politics, right? But he always creates problems himself. Like, he'll go into a place not realizing that in the astrology language, all his stuff, that, think of all the things that he's grappling with. Foreign countries, immigration. Remember, he was doing higher education. He was trying to block all the universities, right? And all the legalities of Supreme Court legal decisions, right? All of those are in the same house. That's where Saturn is going. So it's already telling you that's where it's going to go wrong, because you are going in there, you're agitating in this area. Like, in other words, an astrologer would say to him, what, you're doing international what? No, I don't think you should do that now. The timing isn't good for that. If you go in there now, you're going to run into restrictions and problems, because the planet that rules that is there, and not just there. It's there, and it's connecting with you directly, right? And then if the astrology is looking a little deeper, you'll say, oh, by the way, that planet also rules your health. And it also rules the people that help you. I think some people are going to betray you. That could be a problem, people that walk away. More Marjorie Taylor Greens, So in other words, you end up, in a way, you meet your own karma. You're like a chaos agent. You start fires everywhere, but that eventually turns on you. The very thing you started, too many fronts, too many things, it's not good. Something will go wrong. It's just the nature of life when you have too many problems happening at the same time. It's like that, yeah. So
I just got a psychic hit, minding my own beeswax, and I just saw it totally in my mind. I saw Trump telling off Kash Patel, and I think it has something to do with him living on the high horse with the girlfriend and having agents drive his drunk girlfriend's girlfriend home. And I think Trump just laid into him. I don't know what would happen, but he's furious, and he's telling Kash Patel off. And I feel Kash Patel almost standing still, like he's not really moving forward or backward. He's just maybe even just showing up at the office and sitting there, because he doesn't want to do anything that make Trump blow even more. I just saw that. That's weird.
Yeah, Patel is he's in the zone with Pam Bondi,
Yeah.
all those people.
Like, Kash Patel would not be surprised if he got a phone call and said, you're fired.
Well, because the thing is, the one thing with people like this is the same reason that he starts a fire, any fire, big fire, small fire. One of the ways you shift public attention is you fire someone in order to, in this case, fire meaning throw them out of a job, in order to change the subject, right? So if you say, this person, I'm getting rid of them because that'll make things better, it'll switch the conversation for a while. So yeah, he's vulnerable. The other person that's right in the thick of it, although he's in the background, but RFK, this guy,
oh my God.
People should be careful, be super careful. First of all, in my opinion, if your doctor agrees with what he says, but most doctors will tell you, no, you should still vaccinate according to the protocol or whatever it is that he's saying.
According to the scientific protocol.
Like, I don't trust this guy at all. So he's got a ton of Saturn, same idea, in the middle of the year. So, but see, there you can anticipate that then the central, like if you go from, I don't know, May to October, it's probably going to be pretty rough for all of us, because there'll be a lot going on, and you better make sure you're wearing your seatbelt and realize that, like, all things, they pass, but when you're in them, it can really stress you out, especially if you hear. It can
make you nervous, yeah.
Like, what if you hear a crazy thing, like there's a outbreak of some, cholera or some crazy thing, because this guy that seems to think that, he wants to throw all of modern medicine out. Some of it is admittedly not very good, some of the modern medicine, but overall, it is good that polio and things like that have been conquered, because it used to be that, like, remember FDR, he was in a wheelchair because he had polio. And if he had had a vaccine, he would have been walking around, so.
Well, mine was just a young girl in elementary school, and I remember standing in line with my family, and they gave you sugar cubes.
Sugar
for
cubes?
polio vaccine, yeah.
What do you mean? Like, so you would take?
The polio vaccine was in a sugar cube.
Oh, in a sugar cube. Okay, well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and I was wanting more than one sugar cube, but they would only give me one.
That's funny.
Well, I like sugar cubes, but yeah, that's how they gave it to us in those days.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is the thing that a lot of times the measure of a person's intelligence is is knowing things and knowing not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because
Exactly.
there are a lot of things that in small amounts, in careful ways, are really useful. And if you exceed that, they're not good for you at all. Like, for example, alcohol, if you have a glass of wine, that even might have good effects. As soon as you start going over that, it turns bad on you. It's the same with medicine. Some of it can be really useful. Going all in probably isn't. But RFK, his attitude is, I have this idea about how life should work, and he's right about that there are too many food dyes and things like that. Okay, you can fix that. But to then say, I'm going to recommend that children shouldn't get
Measles.
the hepatitis vaccine or whatever it is, you're wading into
We got a measles
dangerous
epidemic
territory.
going on now.
Yeah,
Jeez.
more people are getting the measles. Yeah, yeah. But people are tend to be really dense. Unless you see a bigger problem, it probably won't change. You need to see a bigger problem. But that's the thing. He probably will run into a big problem, which, by the way, that's another thing. It could be with him in his chart. What could happen may not be it may not even be it could be like it's in the health part of the chart. That's one layer of astrology for sure. So since he's the health boss, you think, well, okay, it can come in that way. But it's also his health, right? That's another thing. It could happen to him through his health. And that same place is the place of hidden affairs and stuff like that. And he had that thing happen, remember, with that woman that
A newswoman, yeah.
Olivia Nuzzi. So I don't know if it'll be her, but he's known to have done quite a bit of that. He might get some scandal, like the same idea as the Epstein file, stuff that's taboo and hidden that people don't want known.
Yeah.
All those things are happening simultaneously. So you can get one or more of those.
Ooh.
But either way, it's very uncomfortable, right? Because you're getting a planet like Saturn sitting on you for an extended period of time, right? That's the logic. Yeah. And by the way, another thing, you asked me about that question. Hold on to the question for a second, because you said about March, something about March 20. Some person said, yeah, I don't, I'll look again. But first of all, I never look at this idea of like this day, just it works in zones. There's a zone period.
It's like reading. Sometimes when I read, I can't give you the exact, but
No.
then it'll happen, maybe even a year later or something.
Well, no, in this case, it might be more like that month, or like when I was saying how early February is dicey, but it could be late January or toward the middle of February. The exact point is the first days of February is when you're in the stations. And you do see sometimes the activity right there, but just as often you see it further away. And I couldn't even, when I looked at March 20th, I'll look again, but there's probably a theory, it's probably because the sun enters Aries then maybe, and I don't know, and I'll check it out, why they're saying that. You were going to ask though, sorry, I interrupted you.
That's the question.
That was the question? Let me check really, while I'm here, really quickly, if I can. March 20th, yeah, no, there's no, why that day beats me. I'll see if I can find the theory that some astrologer may have put up, why that has any significance. But to me, it's more to say that we're in territory now that is challenging, and we're sorting our way through. And what I'm about to say, I guarantee you that some people will interpret more negatively, but I don't know what to tell you. And it goes like this, right? We are only now, as we speak, entering into the zone which mirrors when the Civil War was fought in 1861. That was exactly this. And then the Civil War lasted 4 years, but we already hit this point last summer. So really, we're kind of already in it. Like in the September to now, Saturn and Neptune backed out. But strictly speaking, we're in that early zone. And then the war ended. And the war ending in 1865 corresponds precisely with where Neptune it's going to be in 2028 in the elections. Okay, that's one thing. But something else, because then you hear, well, yeah, but now you're telling me that we're in the battle. We are. It's true. But something else I found that, when you do research, you see these patterns and they really surprise you. I didn't know that war, it looked like they were going to lose it up to the last
I
third or
know.
so. They were behind. Like you could see the map. It was all red, 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 and then it went
Ken
blue.
Burns talks about that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the point is, don't assume because you see something, you immediately draw a conclusion. Oh, that's it. We're done. We're finished. Those are the things that, to me, are the most dispiriting when I see people posting comments. You don't know what you're talking about. The U.S. experiment is over. We've lost. No, we haven't. We're just in the middle of the fight. And we got to
Right.
make our way to the other side. See it as a cycle and stay calm. Make sure you vote. Stay calm, by the way, because if you don't stay calm, you're going to make bad choices. Plain and
Exactly.
simple. You know, it's not going to help you.
Exactly.
So I know that you can reply, I have a right. Yeah, I should feel anxious. Well, how does that help you? That's like literally like taking poison and swallowing it. You know, like I'm going to swallow it, feel awful. No, just stay calm and focus on the things that have been working. I'm amazed that election after election, same result, right? Iowa recently, before that. We'll see more before even the, because
Oh,
now,
this morning there were several state things that the blue won.
yeah, no, but I was just going to say that Marjorie, I wonder what do you see with that? Marjorie's seat is coming up in Georgia. Like, I think her district is probably too red, though. Like, they're
Well,
not gonna-
yeah. Oh, her seat's coming up. Oh, I don't know. I haven't looked at that yet.
Yeah, because she's in a really red
But
district.
listen, if she doesn't like who's running, if they were MAGA, she would tell everybody vote for the blue.
Well, I mean that would be earth shattering if the district that, because they would lose a seat, it would be terrible. The other person that I'm gonna study a little more, and the main reason is that he's running against Cruz. You know, Tallarico. He's running against Cruz.
I don't know who he is.
So I think his name is Tallarico, and he's a really magnetic personality. He's good communicator, and I'm pretty sure I might be wrong about this, but I think he's the one that he is taking Beto's place in that Senate-wide race in 26. It's against Cruz, and Cruz, it's not that easy being a Capricorn right now because Saturn is squaring you. So on that alone, Tallarico is going to have a shot. So I'm gonna look deeper to see if I can get.
What sign is Tallarico?
That's what I don't remember. I remember I
But
looked at it
Cruz is a
briefly.
Capricorn?
Cruz is a Capricorn, and automatically that puts pressure on you when you go to, try to win a race, even though it's Texas. But that's where we've seen such a switch because of how poorly they're doing, with their the administration, with their governance. That, I mean, you tell me when you start to see Missouri, Georgia, Texas, you see
Iowa.
Iowa, yeah, Iowa, exactly.
How about Mike Lindell, the pillow guy? Does he have a chance?
Yeah, I have a feeling some of these guys, they signal like they're drug addicts or something. They signal like they're like their brain is addled and they're just not all there because he's wacky. He's just really really wacky. Super
And
wacky.
Spent all his money on Trump. Trump didn't hardly give him the time of day.
No, of course, exactly. Yeah. So
He wants you to idolize him, but if you do, he has no respect for you.
yeah, true.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing with Trump is that, in case people haven't seen, there have been cases where I've seen him. He did do this to Zelensky, but part of the problem when he attacked Zelensky in that, early in the administration, Zelensky, it's not his language, so he isn't going to do well. He won't be able to express what he wants to say. You would never see Trump attack someone who can talk back. That's why he had so much trouble with Mandani. He knew, if I start doing something here to go after this guy, he's going to start talking and I'm not going to look good. That's why he had such a fear of Kamala too. Kamala was a much better talker. So he looked scared. I remember that, the idea that I'm having to, so I didn't want to debate her anymore. That was the whole idea. So that way he's quite a coward. He's not the type of person that can
And
spar with you.
our Governor Newsom.
Oh no, Newsom.
And do you know he went to Washington to ask for the money for California that we've been waiting on for the fire and stuff? And he met with somebody that worked in the White House, but Trump didn't give him the time of day.
No, I know
Wait till he
that's yeah,
begs for a pardon from Newsom.
yeah. I know. If it turns out that way, with Newsom, by the way, yes, he's got a fantastic 27 and 28 chart, but it's not that good
In
between now
26.
and the middle of 27. He's got to figure out a way to finish his term as cleanly as possible, and then there's going to be a gap where he's going to be in no man's land, and that's because there's too much Saturn. Then it switches, starts to go the other way, and he's in really good shape going into 2028. But to be fair, Kamala's is pretty good too. I don't think quite as good because for her the energy is good, but with a bit more conflict than his. His is just totally painted for really well lined up.
You've been
get a-
saying this even before we were thinking of him running.
Yeah, no, I mean that was just you just scan the ephemeris and you see, oh, look at that, Jupiter right on his sun. I mean, like right on election night. That's what happened with Bill Clinton in '92. He had such a good Jupiter energy, he surprised everyone, including that sometimes what happens is when you have a lot of Jupiter, Clinton was really helped by the fact that Ross Perot was part of that.
Yeah,
year.
because he broke him up.
So he broke up the vote and he broke up the Republican coalition. So who knows what the effect is, but it's extremely helpful when you're a politician to have Jupiter on your side. And by the way,
Yeah.
it's what got Trump back in, right? But because Jupiter was in a sign. The problem for Trump is that he got back in on the strength of just Jupiter. The rest of the planets
Or
are no
terrible.
good at all. And that's what he's done. That's what he's done with his presidency so far. He's mucked it all up. And I don't think it's going to get better this year. I think it's
No.
going to continue to be, like
Do you remember, I think, it might have been 92 when I had Jacob. No, it was 95 because I was in the different house when I had Jeffrey. And I just had this 10-pound, 1-ounce baby and I wasn't getting much sleep. And I had Saturday Night Live on. When did it was it Clinton's second term when he ran against Ross Perot? Or was it his first term?
I think he ran against him both times, but Perot got more votes the first time, I think. The second time it was against Bob Dole.
Okay, then I'm thinking the first. It must have been Jacob. Jacob. So anyway, Saturday Night Live, it was when Ross Perot picked that gray-haired guy that was a general.
Oh, yeah.
Do you
I
remember? The
Yeah,
guy
yeah,
had no brains.
No, which?
He had no brains. Remember, you couldn't ask.
Oh, yeah,
him.
no. He wouldn't. He just would.
mumbled.
Yeah, like he would say, they were making jokes on Saturday SNL because they would say something to him and he would answer with one word. Like, because, when you're a politician, you're expected to, express
Be
like,
eloquent. Yeah.
exactly. This is like, what happened to Biden. He lost that ability. And now Trump is losing it because Trump is another famous thing about Trump is how he repeats people's karma. The people that he attacks and diminishes and ridicules, it comes back to haunt him. And now he's the one that is basically disappearing before our eyes, right? He's becoming less and less able to speak and so forth. So yeah, that's totally true.
So the little skit was Dana Carvey was playing Ross Perot. And he had the vice president or his running mate, I can't remember who played. Oh, it was Phil Hartman. Phil Hartman played, remember, Phil Hartman
Played the other guy. Played the other
was
guy.
killed
Right.
by his wife, but he was playing the vice president or the candidate for vice president. And Dana Carvey is doing nothing and talking like Ross Perot. And it's always like they say, when a chicken such and such, And he tells this guy, Phil, the vice president candidate, do me a favor, go out and check that tire, will you? I think something's wrong with my tire. So the guy gets out of the car, and when he goes to look at the tire, he takes off. He's trying to leave him out in the woods because he realized he picked the wrong candidate. And sure enough, as he's driving desperately, here comes Phil Hartman running, saying, "Hey!"
Yeah, you're leaving me behind. His name was
Hit him on the window.
Stockdale, James Stockdale.
Yeah, he's like, "Hey, hey!" I really enjoyed that guy who was Ross Perot. I know he's dead now. It's like looking under the hood. I can see what the attraction was towards him because he tried to be a no nonsense guy.
Yeah, no, and he, like many people, he was spotting some of the problems with the government, but lots of people see the problem. Not too many people find good solutions either, because his attitude would have been, he was a businessman, he knew how to make money, so he was showing graphs how the government was spending too much, and he was talking about what amounts to like really cutting back. Well, what happens when you do that? If you really cut back, people become really unhappy. So then, good luck.
Is that why we're unhappy now? The way Musk went in there and cut everything out?
No, it's different. It's more like what happened. Remember in Kansas, one year they elected this government they said, we're just gonna cut everything back, like total fiscal responsibility. And then what that did is it lowered the economy, it lowered everything, and everybody was really unhappy. So then they had to
Change it up.
change it up, right? And Ross Perot was going to come in with an axe, and he's just going to cut everything. And it's the idea that, okay, we're going to balance the budget by force type thing. When in reality, if you remember, the years when Clinton was in office, but it is true that he had to grapple with Republican Congress because they never had a majority. He lost it in '94. Yeah. But they had a really good economy and a really balanced budget. That was one of the most prosperous.
Well, didn't he's the one that went in and got those rich people to pay taxes. That's what balanced the budget.
Yeah, well, among other things, because they were also spending less and all that kind of thing. But the point being that was the last time that we
ever had a balanced budget.
No, since then it's been just spend, and now we're at 38 trillion, which is not good. That's not a good thing.
Oh, Kristi Noem doing commercials. Do you know she was down there before this incident happened? They saw her filming a commercial.
Oh yeah, no, they're all the same.
Were there 50-gallon cowboy hat?
They're like the preeners. The preeners. They're always doing this. This thing with how you look and getting yourself on video and all. Yeah, it's just what they do, and that would be okay if you had substance and you were doing a good job. You would just say, okay, that's a quirk or that's a feature. But it's not. It's mostly what it is. Like Kash Patel, he's more interested in flying around in an expensive plane. And whenever something happens, he's always first to say, oh, we have a solution. We found whoever. And an hour later, no, that's the wrong guy. And then he looks like a fool, right?
That's happened several times.
Yeah. And it's happening even now where they're doing things like this thing that just took place with this thing in Minnesota. Don't talk about it yet. Hold off. See what's going on.
Look at the evidence. She didn't even look.
Right, because
what they told her? She tried to hit us with her car. So that was good enough for her.
Yeah, no, it's a multi-level thing.
And then Trump takes it and says the guy was in the hospital. Thank God he lived.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's true. It's true. All right. Well, we've covered a lot of ground.
I know. This was fun. I had a good time.
All right, we'll say goodbye to everyone for now. More soon, because I have a feeling this time for sure that we should maybe do one next week or soon.
Sure, I think something big's getting ready to happen.
I think the energy now is super intense. So
Jesus, I just now anytime I'm with you, I get psychic hits. I'm just going to say it out loud. Who knows? I just heard gunshots again. Gunshots. So there's something going to happen with gunshots going on. Okay.
All right. Okay. Bye, everyone. We'll see you all soon.